And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, hello to everyone, and thank you for joining in with the Weighing In podcast. My man Josh Thompson is ready to talk about the big pay-per-view coming up. We got all kinds of information coming your way, even odds. We're going to do a little bit of weighing in on the odds so you guys can go and possibly win some money from my bookie if you're smart enough to go with them. We have a ton to talk about. How you feeling, my man? I know you were doing that Hollywood thing. You were acting. You've always acted as a fighter, so now I guess you're acting as a human being. What's happening, man?
Wow, shots thrown.
Shots fired across the bow.
Jeez.
People would say I acted like a referee, so
yeah, I was able to do I was able to get a little bit of a piece in the NCIS LA world, so I did that yesterday morning in LA, and it was wonderful. We had a blast, and I want to thank everyone there. They invited me on, and I was on. It was great, man. I had a great time. All the other actors that helped me out and stuff that worked, and it was an actual fantastic time. Short, brief. I think we were there for at least 3/4 of a day or whatever, and came back last night. Great job, great time, all that stuff. But John, you brought up odds. I have something I would love for my bookie to put on their odds page. You want to know what that is?
What is that?
I want to know what the odds are that we will land on Mars first before we actually get voting machines that are accurate. That work? That's what I want to know. Today, because we are dropping this, we're filming this show on Tuesday. This show will drop for you guys on Wednesday morning, hecka early. But it is voting day here in the U.S.
So whichever way you're going, just go vote.
Just go vote. That's the biggest thing is go vote. I'm not here to preach about politics or any of that stuff, but I am here to complain about the voting machines. That's what I'm here to do. It's just ridiculous. I mean, figure it out, man. Figure it out. We are closer to landing on Mars than we are to getting accurate or competent or ones that just don't break on election day. So anyways, hopefully we can fix that problem soon. But anyway, like we said, hopefully you guys went out and you guys voted. And if you guys did, hey, post a picture of yourself with a sticker, whatever it is, and just let everyone else know, hey, go out there and vote, do your thing. And in the future, go out there and vote. Even the young kids, 18, 19, get out there, man. Go out there, do what you believe. Do it.
It's your chance of voicing your opinion, even if you don't have to talk.
Yes, yep. You don't have to talk. All right. Well, hey, we've got a big weekend of fights that are coming up. And John, I got to be honest, man. I'm a little stoked. I'm a little stoked. It doesn't take much to get me fired up and stoked after the last 2 weekends of shitty fights. So there was some good fights on each one of those cards. There were some great performances by fighters. Yes. And you don't ever want to take away from that. But if you're going to say as a whole, there were some great fights, there were great performances. Yes. Because there was some, and I don't want to say mismatches, but just one fighter overwhelming the other with just better technique, doing a much better job. And you could see the difference in the levels and stuff. But that happens. Yeah, but you know what, though? This is a way for them to spend more money on the bigger pay-per-views to bring in more, to have more stacked cards. I remember back in the day, John, you and I have been around since, you've been around since dirt. I've been around since the evolution of this sport, okay? So the beginning of the sport, and you were obviously way before that. But it just comes down to, do you remember when UFC 1, which was stacked with a bunch of people that no one really knew? Well, and, what do you mean no one really? Nobody knew any of them. No one knew any of them. So, but when you get into like UFC 3, UFC 15, UFC 23, you only had, say, 1 or 2 good fights on the card. A couple other good fights that were on there, but like no one knew their names. When you got into like 35 and 40, that's when you started getting stacked main event cards. It was like, okay, you started getting BJ Penn, you started getting Frank Shamrock, you started getting Tito against Ken Shamrock. You had some good stacked pay-per-view cards, and they all had to be pay-per-view at the time because there was no TV that really wanted to get involved with the UFC. But things have changed, and now we get every month we get normally a very stacked pay-per-view card. And a couple little shows in between, like we've experienced the last 2 weeks since the Islam Makhachev fight. is that those two cards, there was some good fights on there and some great performances by those fighters, but the rest of the card was kind of bleh, and I know I misspoke a little bit earlier and I said it was crap. It wasn't crap. It just, they fought their asses off. They didn't perform. The fight card wasn't the best that we have seen. And it's just the way it goes. They had some great performances. Now we're back to another really stacked pay-per-view card. Do you like this? Do you like this type of format where you have two kind of weeks of not really stacked cards, not really big time names on them, and then two big pay-per-views probably within 3 weeks? Do you like that?
No, there comes a point, and it's just there's that point where it tips and it becomes, I don't want to say watered down, but some of the shows are watered down that we're getting, and that's from all promotions. I'm not, just saying that.
No, I
with
agree.
UFC, you have these super fights and super interesting matchups that they want to put out there on that. The UFC wants to put, they got 281. They want that Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler out there. They want that, Esparza versus Wei Li Zhang. It's those cards you look and you go, man, the main card fight after all 5 fights, fantastic. And then you can look back and you say, well, what are you giving up for that? Well, you kind of are giving up. You're getting some main events on some of these cards that you look and you go, truthfully, that on a good card is in the preliminaries. And so it's a give and take. Look, I love fights, so I watch everything, but I can understand where, the common viewer is going to start looking and saying, I don't really recognize any of the names except for one on that card. I don't care. And they're not going to watch. Now that's okay. That's, that's their choice and everything. And look, the UFC is the one putting out the most content by far.
Yeah.
They're putting out over 40 shows, a year. That's a ton of content. That's a lot of fights. And they've got to do those fights because they owe all of the people that they have under contract a certain number of fights, unless that fighter says, oh, I can't do it because of, some type of injury or things like that. But yeah, there comes a point where there is that tip and you say, some of them, the interest just isn't there because you don't have that fight that, it sets it off. When you had like Calvin Kattar against, Arnold Allen. See, that's a fight I'd watch no matter what. I love that fight. That's a great match between two great featherweight fighters. So that's great. I honestly don't even really care so much of, if the rest of the card is loaded. You gave me that one fight. That's a special fight that I have to see those guys compete against each other. But we have had some that you look and you go, it really doesn't matter if I see it.
Well, there's a couple things that I want, like what you just talked about is my argument has always been without a fighters union, without an Ollie Act, whatever it is, right, for fighters pay, all these arguments is that I stand by the fighters deserve to get paid, and I think they deserve to get paid a bigger portion. Say, what are they getting paid now? 16%, maybe 17%. I've always said, let's do baby steps. Let's go up to 20, 21%, somewhere there for the first couple of years. Say like a 4-year period. Then let's get into 25 to 27. Let's build up into that. Okay, that's been my argument from the promotional side, as well as understanding we don't want to take away events that we're doing now. We want to still have the same quality, but let's do that in small baby steps. That's been my argument for that. Now my argument for the other portion is what we got for over the last 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever from fights. I agree with you. The Arnold Allen and Kattar fight, definitely a main event type thing, but I would have liked to have seen possibly that fight go into the pay-per-view card and then take Dustin and Chandler and put them onto a main event somewhere. Because that fight to me means a lot more for 5 rounds. This fight is not 5 rounds from what I understand. It's 3 rounds. This fight in a 5-round fight
needs to be 5 rounds.
Yeah, and so that we are as fans, we're losing out now. Honestly, my argument from before. And I'm kind of contradicting myself because when I was coming up, we had just started, not coming up, but as the UFC started doing 5-round main events, even if it wasn't a title shot.
You talked badly about it, saying, "Hey, man,
I talked badly about it, and I've always kind of been opposed to it. Unless you are the number one contender, this ideally could be a number one contender spot, though.
Could.
It could be. So now this, I guess, I would be supporting it because whoever wins this fight, both of them could potentially fight in a number one. This is a number one contender spot to potentially fight for the title next after Islam and Volkanovski. Charles sounds like he's taking some time off because if anyone deserves an automatic rematch, it would be Charles if it was from me, if I was the promoter, which I'm not, by the way. I want to make sure we're clear.
No, you're not.
So there's a lot of different avenues in which I want to get away from. I want to make sure that we aren't losing all these top level fights and the quality of the product to get watered down. And that's a little bit of what I'm seeing right now. So then the argument will start to become, well, hey, if we're going to start to become like boxing then, where you only get one or two good fights on a main card and then everything else is watered down, then fuck it. Why are we not paying the fighters a lot more? Why are they not getting $50 million a fight? Why are they not getting $30 million a fight? Then I'm going to have to start supporting what the fucking media says about paying these guys more. That's kind of in the argument that would start leaning towards that argument if we're going to get watered down events. Now, I know that they have this deal with ESPN that I think is it 52 shows or 50?
No, 42. 42.
Okay.
42 shows there's a guarantee they deliver 42.
Okay. So is it 42? I thought it was 52.
42. No,
Okay.
52's every week.
That's pretty much where we're at, John, and sometimes twice on the weekends. So one's in some. I remember one's like in Brazil, and then the next day something's here in the States.
Yeah, they've
got
done
to do some makeups. But yeah, I think I just want to make sure that we're not getting away from a watered down sport. If you start watering it down, then people start losing interest, and then they only care about the top level fighters. Right now, there's still a lot of interest. Like last weekend, even though the whole card I wasn't really into, but there was a couple fights in the Neil Magny fight. I was into it. I was into that with D-Rod and Neil Magny. I was into Lemos and Rodriguez. I was into those because most promotions spend a ton of time building up their young talented fighters. Young and up-and-coming ones that they can potentially promote throughout the years. That's what they do really well. Boxing does not do that. Boxing feeds them tomato cans for 20 fights. And
get that 20-0, baby.
Get that 20-0, and now I've got something to market you on, and then we just fight you once a year to keep people always wanting more, and we pay you a ton of money, which is great, but then no one gives a shit about what's on the undercard. But that opens up a lot for corruption with the promoters, and you're seeing what's going on right now, whether it's Gervonta Davis and Garcia. That fight should have been already made. Why is it not being made? Oh, the TV networks, the two fighters have agreed. The TV networks are having some problems. The promoters are kind of saying that it's the TV networks, and then people are buzzing that it's kind of still the promoters. So what's really going on? This is, I want to stay away from watering down the sport. I want the fighters to get paid a little bit more, but let's do it in baby steps. All of these things is growth, but I'm excited for this big pay-per-view this weekend because I know that was a big long rant about something and something and something, but it all started with these are fights that we're getting such a stacked card. Any of these main event fights could be a main event on an Apex or on a fight night or any other normal Saturday night fight.
Any of these main card fights.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is a great card. Well, hello. Go to mybookie.ag. So we are getting ready for another pay-per-view weekend, and I cannot wait to talk about these fights. We are going to give you full breakdowns, but you got to go to mybookie.ag after you listen to our show. Use our promo code weighing in. Take some of our advice. Don't take our advice, but whatever you decide to do, just know that when you go to mybookie.ag, use our promo code weighing in, they're going to give you a little extra spending cash on your first initial deposit. Did you hear that, John? You heard that, John. I know you did.
I did hear that.
First initial deposit, they are going to give you some extra spending cash on us when you use our promo code weighing in.
But the most important part is...
Yes, is you only have to bet your winnings one time after you win, because we know you're going to win if you take our advice. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. Because if you guys would have listened to me when I said Islam was going to sub Charles Oliveira and he was going to make it look easy, well, guess what? You would have ran home with a lot of cash in your pocket if you'd listened to me, not John. But that's it, mybookie.ag. Use our promo code weighing in. All right, well, hey, let's go ahead. What we're going to do is we're going to give you weighing in on the odds. But as we do that, we're going to go through fight by fight, break down the weighing in on the odds with every fight that goes along. So just pay attention, follow along, go to mybookie.ag, check out what the odds are. We're going to go ahead and pull those odds up for you as well. And we're just going to talk about the fight first and how we break it down. Then we're going to go to the odds and give you a little help on how we would potentially bet this fight. And what I mean by that, it doesn't mean that if I say, hey, I think Izzy is going to win, but then I turn around and say, hey, I'm going to bet on Pereira, it's because the odds are so good that I may potentially bet on him to make a little extra money. If he's the underdog and he's got a great chance of winning, I may take the other fighter and go out on a limb and try that. Or I'll take the over-under on that fighter, saying that I think this fighter, because he has the knockout power, will get it done in 3 versus 5. So just keep that in mind when you guys are listening to us talk about the odds. Doesn't always mean that we don't think that that fighter's not going to win. It just means that we just think that the odds are so good the other way to put a little extra cash down, $20, $40, 50, 80, whatever it is you want. You can make a lot more money doing it that way because that fighter has a good chance of winning in different ways. All right, let's go ahead and start. You want to start right from the main event, John?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Come
Absolutely. On. So let's go with Izzy versus Alex Pereira. John, to me, I really believe the 2 wins will potentially work against Alex in this fight. I think that he doesn't have enough cage experience. I know he's got some good wins in the cage. I don't think he has enough cage experience. It's starting to feel like home, but I don't think it feels like home like Izzy's home. This thing feels like it's his castle. He walks into that cage and he realizes, this is my home. If you want this thing, you're going to have to kill me to get it. And I think that he feels so comfortable within the confinements of that cage. I don't know if Alex has the tools. I know he's got the weapons in terms of the power, the kickboxing. He's got those. I don't know if he has enough experience to get that thing done against someone who's been in there that many times and had success.
I agree with you 100%. And this is the breakdown of it. And people are going to say, but Alex has knocked him out before. Mm-hmm. You're right. I know he has. I've watched the fight too many times. But that's kickboxing. Mm-hmm. And here's just as quick as I can say it. You know, if you get into a clinch in kickboxing, especially Glory, it is immediate. The referee's coming in and separating you. Well, they're going to get into a clinch in here. And Izzy works very well in the clinch in MMA. And no one's going to be separating him for quite a while, if it even happens, based upon the activity of what's going on. This is not a kickboxing match, and people need to figure this out. Yes, Alex has wins over Izzy. He knocked him out, all that stuff. That was in a different sport. And when you're taking a look at Israel Adesanya and what he's done in MMA, he's been fantastic. Now, he's had some great fights where he looked just incredible. And he's had some fights where he did not look good at all. He was not exciting at all. It was not what the buildup brought you and you thought you were going to get. It fizzled. It was a dud. But he got the win. And he's a very smart fighter when it comes to MMA. And the fact that he has all of these tools to use, and if you're going to take a look, Izzy is very good with his defensive wrestling. He's not going to really have to worry about it too much, I don't think, with Alex Pereira, but his offensive wrestling's not bad either. He can take somebody down if he wants, and I think he's going to try to mix it up a little bit to just at least make Pereira realize, hey, this isn't kickboxing. I will put you on your back, and I will try to work in that position to damage you. And it's not like Alex is going to be a guy that is, throwing up submissions. He's not going to be dangerous off of his back. The best that he can do off of his back is one of two things. Try to throw strikes, throw punches, throw elbows, or try to get yourself back to your feet so you can use that power that you have, and he does have power. I don't think this is going to be the fight that most people believe it's going to be. I think most people believe it's going to be this kickboxing match back and forth. I don't see it. I think Izzy is too smart. I think his coach, Berriman, is too smart they understand who they're up against. They understand the strength of Pereira, and they understand I have too many variables that I can use in this form of fighting compared to what we were using when we were kickboxing. And it's not like there's a giant difference between the two in the kickboxing. Josh, you know anybody can get knocked out in a boxing match, in a kickboxing match, in an MMA fight. It can happen. All it takes is one shot placed in the right spot, and it happens. Do I think it's going to be on Izzy's mind? No. He's been there too many times. He's had too many professional fights to let that bother him. The guy's a champion for a reason. Intellectually, fight IQ-wise, he's very smart. He may not always be exciting, but I'll tell you what, he knows what he's doing and he knows what he wants to do in that cage. And many times he is exciting. I'm not too sure, again, if this is going to be one of those exciting fights. I think he's going to slow this fight down. And I think that's a smart way of him beating Alex Pereira in this MMA matchup. We're going to see, but, you know, I look at it, everyone's jumping on this whole thing that, you know, Alex has knocked him out and he's going to be able to do it 4-ounce gloves. It doesn't work that way.
John, this is for Pereira, right? There's a lot of things he needs to consider, and this is what you were talking about. He needs to consider that Izzy may try to get a takedown. Doesn't mean he's going to shoot a double leg. Doesn't mean he's going to press him to the fence and drop down on the legs and try to lift him and take him down. It means that he's going to try to get him maybe potentially in the clinch, try to just suck a leg out, break his balance, and maybe try to push his head down. Foot sweeps, all of those little things in a Muay Thai type clinch. The other thing that kind of that Izzy hasn't had to really deal with, that people kind of forget how John Jones got away with for so long. He's never had to really fight someone his size.
Yes.
Pereira's the same size as Izzy. Normally people are a lot smaller. Normally people are a lot smaller than Izzy, like shorter in stature or not quite as long, all of those things. That's going to play a factor. You go back to the first fight with Gus and John Jones. That became a problem because John was always so used to just putting his palm out there and like big brother in you.
Yep.
Yeah, just putting his hand on your forehead and you couldn't hit him because he was so long. He had a hard time in that fight. Now later on he came back and got rid of Gus, pretty early in the second fight. But in that first fight, he was really going through some adversity in that fight because he had never had to fight someone who was as tall, who was as long, who obviously learned how to defend takedowns.
And who would take him down.
And would take him down. That changes the way that you fight. Now, Pereira's going to have to potentially deal with Izzy maybe trying to take him down, but Izzy's going to now have to potentially deal with Pereira being as tall, as long, big in stature, just like him. That's something both of these guys are going to have to deal with. They're going to have to figure it out when they get in there. That could make it an interesting battle back and forth. But like you said, it could also kind of make it a little bit of a boring fight. One's afraid to do something. One's afraid to try and do something because they don't want to open each other up. Now, this is where I lay on this is kind of where I lie on this, is that with Gil and I, when we fought, we had already trained together, but we had already fought twice in our third fight. But our first 3 fights, we picked up where we left off in training. These guys, I don't know if they've ever trained together, but they fought each other twice. They know each other pretty well. Yeah. You would think that they would pick up kind of where they left off and have a great fight. You would think. But the smaller gloves really opens yourself up to get hit a lot more. So there's probably an opportunity for them to take less chances because they know the other one's a sniper. They're both snipers on the feet. We've seen both of them. Just look what Pereira did to Sean Strickland. That was nasty. And look what Izzy's done to so many guys. Just bop, bop,
look what he did to Robert Whittaker.
Yes. I mean
that the hook that he hit Robert Whittaker with in the first fight that put him down and away. I mean, stepping back, Josh, leaning back and comes. You just don't see guys having that amount of tools that they can actually use and be dangerous with. Look, when it comes to the striking, they're both outstanding, but I think the big difference is going to be time in the cage, experience in the cage. And if Pereira is trying to knock Izzy out, that's not a good way of going about this fight. Knockouts happen when you're just touching, not when you're trying.
Yeah. Yep. All right, well, hey, we're going to go to weighing on the odds by mybookie.ag. Make sure you guys use our promo code when you guys are checking these odds out. If you guys are interested in putting a bet in, Go to mybookie.ag. Use that promo code weighing in. They're going to give you a little extra spending cash. But let's go right into the Pereira and Izzy situation. What are the odds at there, Dave?
Odds
Do you see them?
minus 204.
There you go.
Meaning that Izzy is the favorite. He is 204, minus 204, while Alex Pereira is a plus 158. The over-under on the rounds at 4.5, meaning you've got to get into that last round. It's a plus 105 for the under and a minus 133 for the over. It's interesting.
You know, John, if I'm gonna take a bet on this, I'm not gonna bet Pereira to win, but I'm gonna probably bet on the under. Just for me, I believe that if it is gonna go, I think one of them could potentially end up getting knocked out because every round starts on the feet in 5 rounds, and one of them could. And I don't think if Izzy does wrestle, he's not trying to wrestle all 5 rounds.
No.
He's just trying to make him think about the takedown early in the fight.
Make him have to deal with it.
So it slows him down just a tiny bit on his reactions to throwing his punches, his kicks, all of those things. So if that's the case, Izzy could potentially knock out Pereira, and Pereira could still potentially knock out Izzy on the feet with the small gloves. So I'm going to say that this has a chance of going the distance, but if it's under 4.5, I'm going to go ahead and bet the plus 105, I think is what it says. Yep, on the under. So I'm going to take the under if I'm going to do that. In terms of winning, it's such a close fight. And like I said, we haven't seen quite enough yet of Pereira in that cage for me to really go, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take Izzy for the, minus 205. I'm going to go bet 205 to win a hunt. Nah, no thanks. I haven't seen enough yet of Alex yet to see how he is in the cage with the small gloves against a top level striker. But then again, these guys have a history. Do I want to bet the plus 158? Probably not, because both of them know each other so well. So I'm going to probably avoid on that situation, but I am going to take the under. I think somebody will eventually get caught under the 4.5.
It's like you said, there's so many variables here. Mm-hmm. I honestly believe that I would take the over. I think it's going to go the distance. I don't think anyone's getting knocked out. I would actually go with the minus 133 with the over, and I hate doing that when it's only 2.5 minutes of time.
Yeah,
because really, but I think this is going to go the distance. So that's where I would go with it. And if I was going to take one fighter over the other, like I said, I've watched Alex Pereira fight too many times in kickboxing. He is outstanding. He's a stud. He is big, like you're saying. He's going to be bigger than Israel Adesanya, I believe, when they go into that cage. He'll be bigger as far as height, which is unusual, and he will be heavier than Izzy. He just naturally is a bigger guy. But I think Izzy is smart enough he's going to get the win. I don't think I would want to go the minus 204, though, to bet on that.
No. Yeah, I don't think so either. I think the speed will play a factor with the smaller gloves for Izzy, so he'll be able to get to the chin a little bit faster. Does he have the power to knock Pereira out with the small gloves? Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. Can Pereira get to his chin and break through the guard to hit him? If you look back at some of Izzy's fights, he's hittable. He's hittable. So Pereira's going to figure him out, I think, as the fight goes on. But in the back of his mind, he'll always be thinking, am I going to get into the clinch? Am I going to get taken down? All those things is a split second of hesitation is all Izzy will need with his speed advantage, I think, to get in there and touch the chin. So, like, I agree with you. I'm not taking probably the minus 204. I'm not betting that.
Yeah.
I'm going to avoid that one. All right, and let's go to the co-main event.
Carla Esparza versus Weili Zhang. Man, this is Carla Esparza's first defense of her title for the second time. She's had the title now twice, but this is her first defense, and this is not an easy fight at all. You're talking, Weili is just super strong, super athletic, very fast, and the real question here is, can Carla utilize her grappling, her wrestling ability to slow Weili down, put her on her back, and make it to where she has to work hard to get herself either up or to defend against what Carla does, because Carla's got very good ground and pound. And, when we talk about ground and pound, it is a skill set. Not every fighter has it. She does. She understands how to use it. She's very good with it. I look at this, though, and there's one way that Carla can win this fight. There's many ways that Weili can win this fight. That right there tells me who I think is the favorite in this. I think Weili is just a physically more gifted fighter. I think that Carla has her points. I think she's the better wrestler here, but Weili is not bad with her wrestling. She is very good with her hands, and she's super strong. She's very good at getting herself up off of the ground. Now, can she be hurt? She can be hurt. But if there's the weakest part of Carla's game is her striking. She doesn't have a ton of power in her shots when she's on her feet. It's not where she looks comfortable in the fight. It's not that she's not proficient with it. She's proficient with it, but not against someone like Weili when it comes to the stand-up. You've seen Weili with people, and MMA math does not work because Carla Esparza obviously has 2 wins against Rose Namajunas, who has 2 wins against Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang has 2 wins against, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, while Carla Esparza lost her title the first time to her, and Joanna had a great performance and just took that easily from her. But MMA math doesn't work. But in this situation, I look at it and I think Weili has too many variables that go in her direction as far as ways for her to win this, where Carla really has to be that smothering wrestling attack, bring her to the ground, start to wear her down with the ground and pound, and I'm not sure she can do that over 5 rounds.
What I look for when I'm looking at this fight is, in history of watching Carla Esparza fight, when she struggles to get the takedown, it's a snowball effect.
Yes.
She starts moving backwards. She starts taking big shots. If she can't get a takedown early in this fight and control the rest of that round, she's going to have a really rough fight for 5 rounds, if it goes 5 rounds.
If it goes there, yeah. I agree.
And she's a phenomenal fighter. And like you said, MMA math doesn't add up, but it has to do with getting the takedown early and often and controlling that top position, breaking that fighter down. But we've also seen with Weili, it's hard to break her. Look at her first fight with Joanna. She dug deep in that fight. She got her butt kicked, I think, for the first 2.5 rounds, came back and ended up winning that fight.
Especially that second round. She was in trouble.
And then she made some adjustments. She came out and she really put her pedal to the floor and just gassed on it, man. She just started touching her, started putting in little chips, whether it was kicks, whether it was boxing, whether it was a little bit of grinding on her against the fence. She can mix it up like everywhere. Once you realize if you only have one weapon like Carla Esparza has, with the takedowns and the ground and pound, 2 weapons, I guess. If you only have those 2 and it doesn't start going your way, you start putting added pressure on yourself, realizing, shit, I can't strike with her. I don't really have the power to knock her out. And then Weili just stops respecting you and starts walking you down, realizing that she knows the takedown's coming. I can stuff your takedown, give you space, let my hands and my kicks go. And also working with Henry Cejudo. Her last camp, I think she's still there working with him now, making these little adjustments. All those things being said, I think that she's going to be very prepared for the wrestling part of it. And when that doesn't go Carla's way, it's going to be a tough night. It's going to be a tough night.
Pull up the odds on this. We'll go weighing in on the odds for the championship fight between Carla Esparza and Weili Zhang. Looking at and it says it right here, Weili Zhang minus 400. She is the favorite, even though she is the challenger. She's not the champion. She is a minus 400, while Carla Esparza is a plus 283. Mm-hmm. Look, I think Weili Zhang is definitely going to win this fight. I hate putting that much money down, but I would put the 400 to win 100. I don't believe that Carla has the skill set to go all the rounds she needs to go with Weili in this. If you're looking at the over-under, it is a minus 120 for the under at 4.5. It is an over of minus 105. If I was going to bet this fight, I would bet that under at minus 120. Yep. I believe that it will not go into the 5th round, and I think this is a fight that it's going to be a new champion coming out. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And I love Carla Esparza. I want to say that right now. I hate, when she was going to fight Joanna the first time, I was like, man, that's just not a good style matchup for her.
Yeah.
And I look at this fight, it's the same thing. It's just not a good stylistic matchup. But she's proved me wrong as far as, her win against Rose Namajunas the second time. I thought Rose was going to win that fight. She got it. It was not a good fight by either fighter, but she got the win, and that's all it takes. So,
yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing that you're doing. I'm gonna go the minus 400. I probably bet 400, maybe 800. And come up a little bit, or I'd probably come in say $600-700 at the minus 120. And go from there. If that's the case, I would probably start betting on Weili. Heavy numbers. If you feel confident enough, and now look, fighting, anything can happen.
Yep.
Weili could tear her knee. No, knock on wood that she doesn't. Weili could.
We've had enough injuries that have stopped fights recently, so absolutely.
And then Weili could shoot in on a double leg, or Carla could shoot in a double leg, and and fall back on something. I don't know. Weili can end up getting caught in a guillotine. Well, yeah, exactly. This is a fight. This is a fight game. But I look at the way that Weili fought Jessica Andrade. If she fights her that way and just tries to bully her around, press her to the fence, elbow her back, punches, knees, combinations, those type of things in the history of watching Carla fight, she gets flustered. The striking, she's not quite comfortable on her feet. She has gotten a lot better since those fights in the past. She's gotten a lot better, but she still gets a little flustered on the feet when she's getting barraged with, say, 2, 3, 4 punch combinations. You mix in elbows and knees, and it starts just taking away her advantage of trying to get down on a takedown. Because if the knees come and the elbows come and all of those things are coming, don't know where the strike's coming from. You really don't want to drop your hips and shoot in on a double leg. That potentially gets you caught with a knee up the middle, uppercuts, whatever it is. I look at this fight, and I'm probably betting, $600, $700, $800 probably on the minus 400 for Weili to win. And then I'm probably betting $500 to $600 on the under, because I think Weili's going to probably finish her.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan of Carla. She's an absolute amazing person. Absolutely amazing. And just like you said, the one avenue for her to really get this fight done for 5 rounds against someone who we have seen, and we've seen her dig deep as well. But with Weili, we've seen her dig deep after getting pieced up for 2 rounds and having to find ways, every little avenue to win this fight. And she was able to do it against Joanna. Tough fight, But yeah. All right, well, that's weighing in on the odds. Use our promo code weighing in for the co-main event. Now we're going to go right into the fight that everyone has been talking about. Big time. I would say this fight's got more press than all the other fights. All the other fights on the card.
I think it has, which is, look, it's saying a lot. People will sit there and talk all they want. Michael Chandler has come into the UFC, and he has done exactly what they wanted him to do. He came in, he stirred things up. He has talked very well. He has made great interview moments that have stuck in people's minds. This whole thing, I'll see you at the top is a great thing. He's had some heat with Dustin Poirier. Then they kind of, DC had him on his show and had him like talking, and they were both being kind to each other. It's going to be a fight where both guys, in the end, they know what they're facing. It doesn't matter whether they have heat or not. It doesn't matter whether they like each other or not. What matters is who in this fight has the aptitude to be smart, to fight a smart fight. And
it sure the hell ain't Chandler.
Well, this is I think this is the whole thing.
When that guy can't fight smart if it saves his
physically,
life.
Physically, Michael Chandler, I think, is maybe a little bit better than Dustin Poirier as far as speed, strength, all those things. Michael Chandler's got it. He is a strong individual. He is well-conditioned. Dustin is well-conditioned also. I think Dustin has a bigger gas tank because he manages his fight better than Chandler does when it's tough. He gets those moments where he takes a break. Chandler shows his moments when he needs a break. You watch him bouncing back, and he's trying to gain space a little bit.
Yeah, step back and bounce around and get his
bounces
breath.
Around to get you to like, oh, well, he's catching his breath in those moments. I really look at this. If I was going to say, look, who is the person, physically that should win this fight, it's Michael Chandler. If I look at this and say, who's the person as an MMA fighter putting everything together, body, mind, everything, it's Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is the smarter fighter. Dustin Poirier he handles the fight in a fashion that's better. Now, but the one thing I want to say in this is, in a 3-round fight, there is a difference in fighting Michael Chandler than there is in a 5-round fight.
Yep.
If this was a 5-round fight, I would say I take Dustin Poirier all day long. In a 3-round fight, though, you could have Michael Chandler winning this fight because physically, he is a talented fighter. He is physically strong. He is fast. He's got power in his hands. There's things that match up in this fight that I look and I go, Chandler does have a very wide stance. Dustin Poirier does a very good job at throwing that low calf kick out there and attacking that front leg. I think he's going to attack Chandler's front leg. But this is a fight that could go either way. Based upon it being 3 rounds, I think it does favor. The 3 rounds favors Chandler where the 5 rounds would have favored Poirier. But you take a look, and both these guys are just outstanding fighters. I love watching both of them. That's why I think it's a great fight.
John, that was the biggest bullshit cop-out PC shit I've ever seen. You basically just pushed. You pushed.
I didn't push.
That's what you did.
You
pushed.
It's very simple. I'm picking Dustin Poirier to win this fight.
I thought you just said Chandler in 3 rounds.
No, I said the 3 rounds favors him.
Oh,
I'm still
okay.
picking.
Okay.
Everything I do, every fight I look at, I always look and say, physically, who's more talented, but mentally, who's the smarter fighter. And you could take a look at Dustin's fight, especially his second and third fights. The first one showed exactly what I'm talking about. Dustin did not fight a smart fight against Conor McGregor. He went out there, he wanted to knock him out. Look at what he did in the second fight and the third fight by being smart, by having enough maturity to say, I don't need to get into that, gunslinging battle right now. This is how I'm going to win the fight. Mike can be drawn into the gunslinging battle because Mike wants to be exciting. Mike wants the fans to talk about his fights, and that's okay. As long as you're okay with possibly losing, because you look at his fight with Justin Gaethje, Mike had all kinds of opportunities to utilize a skill set that he's better at than Justin and never did. He did it once. The fight was basically out of his hands. Mm-hmm. And you can't fight that way. You've got to fight the fight that will lead you to victory. You got to be smart. You got to be smart throughout it. And it's not that Mike's not a smart person. It's just at times he doesn't fight smart. And I've watched him too many times get into these gunslinging battles because he kind of likes it. That's why I picked Dustin.
All right. I think there's a couple ways to look at this fight. Dustin Poirier, I agree with you, is, I think, obviously the smarter fighter when he gets in that cage. His fight IQ is a lot better. What scares me about Dustin is that he is a slow starter.
This is true.
He will sometimes give away
and
round
Chandler's
one.
a fast starter.
And Chandler is a fast starter. So when we're talking about, look, and you hit it right on the nail on the head. This fight definitely favors Chandler in a 3-round fight. No doubt about it. Chandler, though, finds ways to not fight smart. He will keep this on the feed. He will, instead of wrestling and utilizing that pedigree of which he is really good, and he is nasty when he gets on top. He's got vicious elbows, nasty ground and pound, short and stocky, hard to get off of you because of his height and stature. He just, I don't know if you ever had somebody that's short like that, like Volkanovski. I used to train with another guy named Justin Wilcox. Same thing. He's so small and so strong. You kick them back and they just hit the ground and bounce back on top of you. There's nothing you can do to really get them off of you. And that's why a lot of people, when they're talking about Volkanovski and Islam, always going to have a hard time holding him down because he's so small, this and that. Chandler's the same way from the bottom as well as from the top. Nasty elbows, he throws everything with bad intention, which is also something that works against him in a 5-round fight.
Absolutely.
You go back and watch his first Benson fight. In that rounds 4 and 5, he was sucking wind. He was surviving. He was surviving in those rounds. This is one of those fights in a 3-round fight. I'm going to lean, like I agree with you, I'm going to lean towards Chandler in a 3-round fight, but I'm also going to take Dustin because I think if Dustin fights smart, he lets Chandler, he puts pressure on Chandler, puts Chandler in uncomfortable situations, keeps his defense high, and just touches him with the boxing. I think you're going to see another fight how Gaethje and Chandler fought, but Dustin's going to make it look easier and he's going to make it look smoother because Dustin's the more refined boxer / kickboxer, whatever you want to call it. I think those leg kicks will play a factor. Chandler has a hard time with leg kicks. He's always had a hard time with leg kicks.
He has gotten better.
He has got a little bit better, but I'm surprised not a lot of guys have really tried to go to the well on his calf. His calf, he's weak in those areas, but Dustin's also southpaw, so that inside leg kick will be there. But where also Chandler's weak is the body kicks. He doesn't handle them very well. He keeps his elbows up high. His hands are always out wide. His elbows are up high. Yep. And that southpaw stance goes right to the body kick, as well as when he starts to hit to the body, he starts to drop the elbow and the head kick is there. All of those things lead to potentially him getting in a lot of trouble if he doesn't try to press Chandler, or not Chandler, but Dustin to the fence, try to get the takedowns, control Dustin underneath them where he's outside of that range. No one's been able to ever submit Michael Chandler. He's never been submitted. He is a dog in there. If Dustin thinks he's going to get him in that arm and guillotine, defending the takedown that way, you may have another thing coming, man. I know you have a great arm and guillotine. I've seen it. We've saw it with Khabib. We've seen it with other fighters. He's phenomenal. But Chandler's one of those guys. He will go to sleep or he will gut it out all the way through trying to get that thing off. He will let you rip his neck off. He's one of those kind of guys.
Yep.
So, like I said, I'm going to go back to what you were saying. I favor Chandler in a 3-round fight because those type of fights are tailor-made for him. But then I go back into Dustin. If he gets a decent first-round start, and he's able to kind of sneak that round or make it close so 1 or 2 judges will give it to him, I give it to, obviously, I think Dustin's going to win this fight. Just all the tools, the weapons, all of those things. And Chandler's just been known to be the dumbest fighter in there when it comes to his fight IQ. Like, he could make these fights so easy for himself. And I know he's getting paid well. I respect that. I love that. And I know the fact is he's already brought it up in several of his interviews. He came here to be exciting because he wants people to remember his fights. But the problem is they're going to remember your fight, but they're also going to remember that you lost that fight. Yeah. I look back, that's exactly how I fought the second fight with Gil. I didn't care how the fight and how it all ended up. Obviously, I wanted to win. I wanted to have fun out there because I had been out for 16, 17 months, after defending my title the first time, I had fought someone else and came back and Gil was my second fight. It was just one of those fights. I was like, fucking, let's do this. I had so much anxiety going in there, excitement, I should say, and I wanted to just let it all out. Chandler has that going on for him right now, and it doesn't always work out in terms of winning. People will remember it, but in the back of your mind, Chandler, later on down in life, you're going to be, damn, I wish I would have won that fight, though. That's what goes through my mind. Great fight. Obviously, to me, is one of the most exciting fights in my history in terms of for my career, but I lost. And that's how I remember that fight. Now I remember it that way. When I first came off of it, I was like, oh, it was a great fight. Yeah, everyone's talking about it. But at the end of the day, in history, I lost. And that bugs me still to this day because I was like, shit, if I would have fought a little bit smarter, if I would have done it this way, I knew I had him rocked there. I had him. Those are things I think later on down the line that Chandler's going to think about. Let's go to weighing in on the odds at mybookie.ag. Use that promo code weighing in if you're for your first initial deposit. If you're first going to mybookie.ag using our promo code, the first time they will give you some extra spending cash. Chandler, what do you got the odds on? John, I can't read it because it's not big enough.
Chandler is a plus 166, while Dustin Poirier is a minus 217 for this fight. So the odds makers are saying that Dustin Poirier is the favorite. I do believe, like you, Dustin starts slow, and I looked at it figuring he's going to win the second and third round. I do think it's going to go the distance. I don't think either fighter is going to get rid of the other. The under on this is a minus 101 for a round and a half. So that's the midway point, and it's a minus 225 for the over. I would go the over with the minus 225.
125, minus 125.
I'm sorry, 125. I can't read. Yeah, minus 125. So very close as far as minus 101 for the over, minus 125 for the over as far as it going, 101 for the under. I look at it, and I think this is definitely going to go past that midway point. If you're going to get a finish in this, possibly in the third, you've already covered that. I would bet at minus 125 for the over.
This is the one thing I'm going to say on this is that I probably not going to bet the over or the under. If I was going to bet it, I would take the over because both of them are dog dirt tough.
Yep.
They're fucking, these guys.
Hard to get rid of a good fighter.
They've made their career off of being just dogs. You know, I mean, they're fantastic fighters. Fantastic fighters. But I'm going to take the over. They're both going to take a lot of punishment in that first round. Into the second round, I don't think anyone's going to get knocked out. But I also think if I'm going to bet on this, though, in a 3-round fight, I'm going to bet on Michael Chandler at the plus, what, 156 or
166?
166. What is with these weird odds?
I don't know.
Can we just go 165 or 170?
Yeah,
Can we just go 170, 165?
We're putting this down to the gnat's ass, baby.
They're called odds, not evens.
Yes, man. Give me something. Anyways.
Very true.
All right. So at plus 166 in a 3-round fight, Michael Chandler could potentially win this fight. I'd probably put $100 down.
Yeah?
I'll put $100 down, on Michael Chandler. Now, like I said, I have Dustin winning this fight. But in a 3-round fight,
Chandler could definitely win it.
But Chandler could definitely win this in a 3-round fight at plus 166. I'll take those odds. Put 100, put 200 down, come out on top. That's something I would be looking at in that bet there. I'll be taking that bet. And I'm definitely taking the over because they're both just savages. Definitely taking the over. All right, let's go. Let's go. Next fight.
Next fight, we got the man, the myth, the legend, the guy fighting his last fight, which is sad, but I'm happy for him. Frankie Edgar taking on Chris Gutierrez. In this one, look, Chris Gutierrez is a good fighter. Frankie has been there, done it all. Beat BJ Penn 3 times. I mean, what can you say other than Frankie Edgar has been a savage his entire career. Won as a lightweight, won the world title, fought as a featherweight, fought as a bantamweight. This is his last fight. It will be at bantamweight. He's gotten older, and we've seen him get knocked out, a couple of times with some a vicious knee by Corey Sandhagen, a vicious front kick by Chito Vera,
uppercut by Brian Ortega.
That was the first one. I think that was the first one we saw him get knocked out.
That's the very first one.
This is what happens when you've been fighting as long as Frankie and you get to that 40-year-old mark. It's tough, but Chris Gutierrez is a good fighter and he's a tough guy. I do look at Frankie as having the advantage in this, just based upon experience, toughness, and it being his last fight. I look at he's got a very good chance of walking away with a win and walking out of that cage for the last time, with his hand raised. I'd like to see the odds, to see what they're going to say. I would say that Frankie is, I don't know if they're going to make him the favorite based upon his prior performances.
I'm going to push all that nonsense aside.
Heck yeah, let's go.
And I'm just going to say that we are losing one of the greatest fighters in MMA history. That's one. And we are losing we are not losing him as a person, but we're losing him out of the sport inside that cage.
Well, inside
one of the most phenomenal human beings I've ever met in my life. Yeah. He is fantastic. He is a great person. If you ever get an opportunity to talk to him, meet with him, or anything like that, walk right up to him and just say hi. He is so personable. He is the greatest damn person. One of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. His family is amazing. His kids are amazing. His wife's amazing. All the guys that I've ever met through him have been absolutely fantastic, except for fucking Ali. He's a big pain in my ass. He's first time I ever met Ali was fucking with Frankie Edgar and fucking cursed Frankie Edgar every day since
for the day.
For the day. It was all day too.
He introduced me.
No. Ali's my boy, man. I love to poke a little fun at him. I look at Frankie as he's put in a ton of work. He's done everything he's supposed to do in this fight. I think he'll end up walking away as a winner. It's not going to be easy though. I don't think. I think it's going to be a tougher fight than most people are thinking. They're thinking, going, yeah, UFC's giving a fight. He could walk off on a win. No. He's going to have to dig deep in this fight. He is not the Frankie Edgar that beat BJ Penn. He's not the Frankie Edgar, that's fought all the other top level guys in the world. The other thing too, when he fought at lightweight, he was the faster fighter, had more output, would just work people to death, and the lightweights just couldn't keep up with him. Then he went to 45, and he was able to still kind of do that. He had a hard time with Jose, but the speed and the power was a little bit, but the speed was faster for them, and that's where he started to lose a little bit of his advantage because he was always the faster fighter at 55. Now you get to 35, and they're just lightning fast. And some of them now in that top level in the bantamweight division, which is the most stacked division in the whole sport right now. If you look at the UFC's bantamweight division, fucking stacked. You look at Bellator's bantamweight division, stacked. And I don't even want to talk about one because those are just killers that no one's ever heard of. They're all just fucking killers at that weight.
Isn't that
all the Muay Thai guys, all the Jiu-Jitsu guys, all the guys they have over there, just stone cold killers in the 135-pound weight class. So this weight class is stacked across the board. And you have Frankie Edgar, who's been around for the longest time, but he's also 40 years old and it's slowing down. This is going to be a tough fight for him. And as you get older, the young guys are getting stronger and they're fast and the timing is everything. And so Frankie's going to have to be very patient with this fight. He's going to have to utilize his opportunities to get those takedowns, control the top position, try to get a finish from there. On the feet, he's going to have to outpoint him for the 3 rounds. Potentially touch him up in some scenarios where he could get an easier takedown and dominate from the top position. But I think I'm going to lean towards Frankie. This is a very winnable fight for him, but it's not as easy as I think people are thinking it's going to be.
Let's be honest. Chris Gutierrez has done very well in the UFC. Yeah. He's got some good wins. I think his last loss, I think, was against Barcelos, who used wrestling. I think he got a rear naked choke to get that win against him and stuff. But you take a look and you go, man, Frankie needs to wrestle in this. He needs to put himself in positions where he's not having his chin out there to be touched because, it's not the same chin as it used to be. No. And he needs to protect himself in this fight by being the guy that's in the top position. He's got beautiful ground and pound. He's got great positioning when he is on the ground. He knows how to keep the fight there. So let's take a look at the odds. We'll see where it's at.
Well, John, in these situations, right, he needs to take an Andrei Arlovski approach.
Yeah.
He needs to change the way he fights normally and stick it on the outside, using his speed to get in and get out. He's got to get away from that a little bit. He's got to get into the clinch, foot sweeps, all those things that keep you in close so you can't utilize the power.
His fight against Yair Rodriguez. Look at what he did. Yair was lighting everyone, took him down, great ground and pound, and that's what I think he needs to do in this. All right, taking a look. Yeah, Chris Gutierrez is the favorite in this fight. He's a minus 222, which is saying a lot. Frankie, it comes in at a plus 171. The over, which is a 2.5 on this, meaning it has to go into the 3rd round halfway through it, is a minus 58, and the under is a plus 124 for that 2.5. I'm taking Frankie Edgar at 171. I'm just taking him. I'm not saying that Chris Gutierrez can't beat him. I know he can. He's a good fighter. I think Frankie's going to pull it out. It's just my belief in him as a person, as a fighter. I could be wrong, but at 171, I can't go against him.
Yeah, I don't bet on my friends, so I'm not going to give anybody advice on how to bet on my friends because I don't want them to shit on me for, hey, you said this. I don't do that. So it's I also don't want. I feel like it's bad juju. I'm not
bad juju. It's not bad juju, but it's okay.
Yep. The next fight. This to me is going to be a good fight, but it's going to be a telltale fight for Dan Hooker against Claudio how do you say
Puelles.
Puelles. That's what I was looking for. John, I think that Puelles has the tools that he needs that works against Dan Hooker. His grappling, his transitions, his smoothness, the way he goes from the feet to the ground to the feet. He's a nasty, nasty young fighter who's coming up. And like Dan Hooker's got an opportunity to start him on the feet, maybe do some ground and pound if he hits the ground and get out and away. Don't hang out on the ground with him too long, because we can see Puelles getting some great transitions into the submissions and keeping Dan stuck down there trying to avoid those submissions. That's not a place Dan Hooker wants to be. He needs to keep it on the feet, utilize his reach and his range. I don't know how much of an advantage he'll have in reach and range.
A little bit, not a ton.
I think possibly a little bit, but I think Puelles is the better, like, all-around fighter than Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker's got the more extensive high-level competition fights. So I'm going to lean towards Puelles, though, just to be honest, because Dan's coming off how many losses? 5? Can you look? Click on
out of his last,
5 in a row.
He had one in there.
Oh, he had a win on the.
And that was, but he was able to keep that as a stand-up fight because look at Hesprat. He likes to fight, in the same, position. Yeah. So I don't know. I look at this and I agree with you. I think that Puelles has got a very good chance. He does need to, in my opinion, if he can get the fight to the ground, that's where his advantage lies. Hooker
He's not bad on the feet, John. He's not bad on the feet.
But neither is Hooker.
Yeah, that's true. I think Dan's got the advantage on the feet, but it's not as big of an advantage as people think.
If you're looking at, where is it that this fight starts to really go in one fighter's direction, I think it's if Puelles can get Dan Hooker to the ground. He's got a very good submission game. He's very good at just creating problems for his opponent. So that was, if you're going to take a look at the odds in this, Dan Hooker is a favorite at minus 169, while Puelles is the underdog at plus 132. The over in this is a plus 106. The under at 2.5 rounds is a minus 35. Actually, they're thinking that someone's going to end up finishing this fight. So,
yeah, I'm going to take Puelles on this at the plus 132, and I think it's going to be a submission. They're going to get caught up in some sort of tangle in the body and the clinch, and then he's going to end up either dropping down or he's going to get the takedown. He's going to end up in the transition in the scramble in the submissions. I think he catches him. I think he's going to end up catching him in the submission.
It's possible.
Whether it's a triangle, whether it's an armbar, whether it's a omoplata or kimura. I mean, all those things are available there. So I think he ends up catching him. But if he doesn't catch him early, it's going to become a more difficult fight for him. So that's probably why they're saying that this thing may end up being under.
I don't know. I look at it. I can see Puelles. He does go for leg locks at times. I can see him going for a leg lock on Dan Hooker. That does scare me because Hooker's got such length. He can reach out. He can use the hammer fist to possibly hurt him. But I look at, I would do the same thing. I think Claudio Puelles is a guy that he can win this fight. So that's the guy I would go with.
But you have to take, for me, what I take into account is that coming off 2 losses, getting a win, then coming off 2 more losses, you're realizing that there's a lot of pressure on you to get a win, a ton. And when fighters start dropping more than 2, some fighters have never lost more than 2 in a row, or more than 1 in a, like, they've never lost a second fight. Yeah, it's like just 1 fight I've lost. Okay, I've got my win, back on track. I had never lost 2 fights in a row until towards the end of my career, and then I was dropping them left and right. It's fucking horrible. It's just the way it goes, right? I never lost twice, 2 times in a row, and then I dropped 3. I skipped 2 and went right to 3 in a row. And it's just one of those, it's all about the confidence, John. You and I talk about this. We've talked about this since we started this podcast. The confidence that you see from fighters that have won 5, 6, 7 fights in a row versus fighters that have lost 1 or 2 in a row. It's like, oh shit, if I drop 3, it's on their mind. UFC's going to cut me, or promotion's going to, next contract, they're going to try to dock my pay, or they're going to cut my contract in half. All of those things play a factor. It starts wearing on you mentally. And all the things you do in training doesn't seem like it's working. Doesn't seem like it's working as well as it used to. I used to be able to do this. I can't do it anymore. It's all about confidence. So Puelles right now coming in on confidence. I think he's gonna end up getting the win over this. It's gonna be a tough fight, but I think he's gonna get the win.
Listen, he's on what, a 5-fight win streak right now. So
I believe so.
that's he should have that confidence behind him because
5.
Yep. There you go.
Who is his loss to? Oh, Martin Bravo. Martin Bravo. Isn't
Now,
Bravo the one that fought Islam? Isn't Bravo the one that fought Islam Makhachev a long, long time ago? Who's the one that he had his loss?
I know.
Oh, I thought you said there was. What are one of the only 3 losses that guy from Italy had? Who's the kid that fought Adam Piccolotti?
Oh, Barnaoui?
Barnaoui?
Yeah.
Wasn't Bravo one of his losses?
No.
Oh, who was one of his losses? It was Islam.
Ivan Bushinger.
Bushinger. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
BB, but it all sounds the same.
Yeah, it's all the same. Look, the one difference is if you're going to look at who they fought. Look, Puelles has fought some tough competition and guys like Clay Guida and stuff, but Dan Hooker has obviously fought the higher caliber of fighters overall in his career. He's got a lot more fights, but you take a look and you got to go, hey, there comes that point where you got to make that step up, and this might be the one for Puelles. And coming off of 5 in a row, can he make it 6 in a row? We're going to find out.
All right, let's go ahead and run through. That's our weighing on the odds. Let's run through the rest of the card. See what fights we want to talk about here.
Well, I think you got Moicano, Renato Carneiro going against Brad Riddell. That's a great fight. Brad Riddell is an outstanding stand-up fighter coming out of City Boxing in New Zealand. He's fun to watch. I think that where the difference in this is Carneiro has got a good ground game. He is very good with his jiu-jitsu, but can he get the fight there? We've seen where he has had fights where in the stand-up he starts accepting damage and he can't get the fight to the ground, and then the wheels start to come off the cart. He's looked good, in his last couple. He took that one last second fight, didn't go his way, but I think it's a great matchup between Moicano and Brad Riddell. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. Yeah,
I'm going to take Brad Riddell, probably potentially over knockout or TKO. I think that Moicano, like you said, on the feet, he's got a great jab. He's good on the feet, but he's not at the level of Riddell. And Brad's going to be able to touch him, hit him with some big shots. And like you said, he just, And Moicano just kind of gets going backwards. Then he can't force the takedown because then Brad Riddell's good enough to stuff the original takedown. I think it's going to be a hard night for Moicano. He could impress, but I'm leaning towards Brad.
Comeback fight for Dominic Reyes against Ryan Spann. How do you see that one going?
John, when someone's been removed this long, and there's a lot of things that go through my mind. A lot of things that go through my mind. Yeah, 3 losses in a row, but it wasn't like he lost to Cans.
No, he lost to good fighters. A lot of people would have thought that he actually won the John Jones fight.
Yep.
Okay. So that was his first loss. Then you take a look at he lost to Blachowicz for the title. Okay. And then he lost to Yuri. 3 fucking dynamite fighters. So no, there's nothing as far as.
And that fight with Yuri was fucking barn burner of a fight. It was fucking fantastic fight. And then his loss to Blachowicz. Just taking into consideration, Blachowicz then went on and defended his title and he came into his own at that moment in that time. So it wasn't he just won the title and then he lost it. No, he won it and then he kept winning. So I think Dominic Reyes has all the tools to continue to build himself back up, but where is he at mentally? Because this is a confidence thing again. Can you get back on track after you lose 1, then you lost 2, went right to losing 3? You know what I mean? That's how confidence rolls. This whole thing is a snowball effect of you got to build yourself back up slowly. If he gets a win over Ryan Spann, don't go thinking, let's go fight, number 5 now. No. Slow it down, buddy. Let's get you back into the routine of winning, start building you back up. He still has a ton left in the gas tank, man. And so I'd like to see him. Yeah. Not only that, but he's fucking enormous. So it's like he's got an opportunity and a chance to really make a run at the title shot again. And we've seen guys. Glover's walking proof. Glover Teixeira. Didn't go his way those first couple times he fought for the title. Came back, and then was able to win it. Looked impressive. Got his wins, and this is This is where Dominic Reyes is right now. Take your time, be patient, take the fights to build yourself back up, build your confidence, start formulating you as a fighter on how you can change your game to benefit you, that how people haven't seen and they haven't figured out how to beat that yet. That's what happens. Someone sees the groundwork's been laid on how to beat you, and people just follow suit. And not to mention that, then once you start losing, your confidence goes out the door, boom, and then you end up losing 2, 3, who knows. But I think it's a very winnable fight for him, and I think Brian Spann, if Dominic Reyes shows up, Ryan Spann's going to be in a lot of trouble.
I agree. Molly McCann versus Erin Blanchfield. Look, Erin Blanchfield is good. But Molly McCann has been on a run. She has been looking very good. This will be her toughest fight, in my opinion. Blanchfield is outstanding if she gets the fight to the ground. And she's good at getting it to the ground. So Molly's got to be very careful. Some of the techniques that she's been using lately have been really great. You might want to put those in the back burner right now, the spinning elbow attacks and things like that. Turning her back on Erin Blanchfield is probably not the best thing she can do. You know, if it's near the end of the round, go ahead, pull it out and try it. But this is a very difficult fight for both. Molly's got a lot of confidence coming into this. She's been looking good. Erin Blanchfield has a lot of confidence. Her wrestling, her ground game is stifling. This is a great matchup.
Yeah, I mean, are we calling her meatball still? I mean, like, she seems like she's slimmed down quite a bit. She's having some success.
Anymore.
She's not meatball
It's still
anymore.
her nickname, but
it's still her nickname. But she, I love watching her fight. I'm gonna continue.
We're gonna call her Filet Molly.
Filet Molly.
Filet Molly.
So she's fantastic, man. So this is a very tough fight for her. All the ways that we have seen her lose in the past have been by someone that's able to take her down, control her from the top position, not let her get up, just dominating those positions, really making her work hard, not giving her space to box and throw funky stuff. So, and I think that Blanchfield will be able to do something like that to her. I'm wishing for the best for Molly. I want her to win, but this is a really tough fight. This is that next level fight. This is that next level fight that she's looking to do to get into that title run. It's gonna be a tough task for her.
Look,
she can't do it.
She gets a win against Erin Blanchfield. That is saying something.
Yep.
Because Erin has proven she is in the upper echelon of the flyweight division. She is someone that everyone is looking at going, not sure I want to take that girl on right now. And Molly is taking that fight. So we'll see what she can do with it. But you're right. This is a tough one.
John, is there any other fights on this card you want to talk about? Is there ones that stick out to you on the prelims?
Julio Arce against Montel Jackson, I think, is actually going to be a fun fight to watch. Mm-hmm. That one is, both guys are explosive. It should be a really good fight. And so I want to, just give a shout to them. Woo Choi against Michael Trizano out of New Jersey. That is a good fight. That Trizano's very tough. Both guys tend to come out and really step on the gas. So it might be just one of those barn burners. It's just, just a joy to watch. So.
All right, everyone. That's going to wrap up our talk for UFC. What is this? 280 something?
281.
281. That's right.
Ooh,
281. Oh, gosh. So that's going to wrap up our talk. Hopefully you guys go to mybookie.ag, use our promo code weighing in, and hopefully we helped you make some money. Let us know if we did in the comments down below after the fights are all over. But
don't let us know if you lost.
Yeah, I don't want to know if you lost. Okay, don't blame me for it. No, Dave's got some news for us. What you got for us there, big dog?
All right. So there was one piece that I did want. It was only one piece really to talk about. However, during the filming of the show, there was some breaking news. So I'm just gonna put it out there. If you don't want to talk about it right now, we can save it for another day when you're ready. But there was a update in the Cain Velasquez case just released where he's been freed on bail. There's a new judge on the case, and he said even though it's the actions that he was charged for are extremely serious, he's decided to allow him to be freed on bail. So I just thought that was at least a good update to get right now. So I just wanted to share that. If you want to make a comment, you can. If you don't, we can move right on.
Yeah, I was not able to attend. I was out of town yesterday, and I know they had day 2 today. I know that there was a big turnout. A ton of people came out to support. I know that pretty much all the charges were allowed to stick. He's going to go to a full trial. The judge had said in court at the end of court that he would take some time later in the day to decide whether he was going to release him on bail. And I'm just finding out about this like you are right now. There is going to be, I can't say too much. There's going to be there's going to be a lot of information coming out during the trial that's going to they're going to try to combine what had happened to his child and into this, which they are not allowed to do right now. But they are trying because they have information that may potentially join this thing together. And I'm trying not to say too much, but it's going to be tough.
Let's put it this
John.
way. Let's put it this way.
Tough.
I'm gonna speak as much honestly as I can. First off, I feel horrible for Cain and what happened with his son and everything. The one thing people cannot lose sight of, and I'm 100% for Cain, but you cannot lose sight that, hey, he committed a crime. And they're not big on letting people become, a vigilante type of crime without doing some type of punishment. He's done a lot of days. He's coming up close to a year that he's been held.
Yeah. It's 8 months now.
I'm really happy that he's out on bail, because if the person that committed the crimes against his child is out, then he should be out. If you're looking at this as a parent, hey, don't ever give judgment until it happens to you, because you never know how you'll react.
Yeah.
Everybody has, a breaking point, and everyone has things that they cannot, they feel like they personally weren't there for their child or something like that. All I can say is this. Do I think that, and I've talked to you about this, there may be a trial, there may not. It could be there ends up being a plea bargain and something like that, and that's fine, whatever there is. But what needs to happen is Cain needs to get over this. He needs to get back with his family and get back into his life as quick as possible. I'm not sure how fast that is going to be, but this is a good step in that at least he can see his family, be there for his family now. He's been away a long time. And if it goes to trial, then, whatever happens in the trial happens. But there will be a lot of things that come out on both sides from this. And those things will be used either in the trial or in that plea bargaining situation to try to either take time away or some people to add more time. But, these things, they're never pleasurable. They're always ugly. And, again, I'm just glad that he's out right now. I guess I can stop wearing my Free Cain shirt for a while.
Well, you said it is that don't ever judge until it's all resolved, but you also can't judge because if you haven't been in his situation, then what are you judging? What do you like? You really don't know what goes through that parent's mind, because as a father, as you are, and most people are with their parent or their children, John, it is your job is to protect your child.
Yeah.
And when you feel like you didn't do that,
that's right. That's
the hardest thing, I think, for most people to understand. And it's hard. Like I get like emotional about this because, they're doing a documentary on him right now about this whole situation. And I sat and talked with him. You did as well. It's hard to understand that someone touched your child in a way that you don't, and that itself is that your job is to protect them, look out for them, feed them, take care of them, tuck them in, help them with their homework, be there and support them every step of the way. And when you couldn't protect them,
make sure that the monsters stay far away.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've been ingrained in our lives to think that your father is the one that's going to protect you from the monsters in the closet and under the bed. But little did we know the monster was at daycare where the child was supposed to feel safe.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, is that none of us will ever know what went through his mind, what he was thinking at that moment when he just lost it. You know, that's the hardest part. Because
all I can say is this, and people can look at it any way they want. I was a police officer for 23 years. I saw stuff that no one needs to see. I saw things with kids that if I was able to actually get a hold of the person, I'm going to do bad things because that person's evil. And it's like, I know that doesn't sound right, but wait till you see what they did.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't leave you. It affects you for the rest of your life.
Yep. But I'm glad he's out.
Good.
I'm glad he gets to see
freed.
the kids. I'm glad he gets to see the kids, his wife and family and everything. Next, Dave. I'm glad you didn't do that story last.
yeah. I deliberately changed my order there for a reason.
Yeah.
All right. UFC Vegas 64 fight is under investigation after suspicious betting. Now, there was a fight this last weekend, and so ESPN reported that the fight has been investigated after several sportsbooks in multiple states reported suspicious wagering on the featherweight contest. According to the report, odds and Shalian Nurdenbeek defeating the underdog in Derek Minner moved dramatically in the hours leading up to their UFC Vegas 64 fight. It seems bettors were convinced that not only the Chinese fighter would win, but he would do so in the first round. Large bets were placed on Nurdenbeek to win by knockout in the opening round and for the fight not to go the distance. The fight just lasted just over a minute, and it was after the leg injury. And this is following that recent incident where they changed the rules around.
Well, the UFC has just taken and put a stance where fighters are not allowed to gamble on fights, be it their fight or anybody else's fight. And this kind of comes right, after that whole thing has come out. But you have to give it up for the UFC and that, hey, they're investigating this thing because you can't have this. They know that, gambling is a part of what people like to do when it comes to fights. And they want, I can tell you now, there's several fights that in the UFC, and this is before Dana was ever there or anything like that I will tell you that fight was fixed. I can tell you on 2 of them, and not a doubt in my mind, but it was done not by the UFC. It was done by managers of fighters that told their fighter to, you're going to go out there and lose. And this is what can happen. When you have this and people look at corruption in the sport, it can absolutely damage your brand in an immense fashion. So I understand why the UFC is looking at this, looking at it with a very, close eye. They cannot have this type of situation happen. And if you're looking at it, unfortunately, I don't think they're looking at, they're not looking at, the winner of this. They're looking at Derek Minner.
Yeah.
They're looking at a guy who had an injury supposedly, and I'm not, he could have had the injury, but it was the knee. All of a sudden was having a problem off of 2 kicks. He has this knee injury. He goes down, and the fight is finished on the ground. So I pray that Derek Minner had nothing to do with anything with this. There was no collusion, nothing as far as a conspiracy to commit this. I hope, he's clear of that, because that's something that's a stigma that will never, ever leave.
Yep. Ask Pete Rose.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I mean? Like it comes down
and
to
Pete Rose only bet on his team to win.
Here's the thing, though, John.
Can't do it.
That it not only what happens during these situations is that someone got greedy.
Oh,
and they probably bet on different platforms and bet as much as they could, whether it's $3,000, $8,000, whatever it was, for that fighter to lose.
Took the odds
all of a
completely
sudden
out.
Yep, and then to bet on the first round TKO. The other thing is, in these situations, I don't know if, and I'm not saying Minner did anything, but to understand a lot, how many times have you heard fighters say, "I'm fighting injured," TJ Dillashaw, but it's because they don't maybe have insurance. So they go to the fight so they can get the shoulder fixed or the knee fixed or the ankle fixed or their hand fixed.
It's true.
Some fight. Now, I know the UFC offers that $1,500 deductible insurance for major surgeries. But fighters, though, sure, I can get the surgery, but now I'm out for 6 months. I need the money. I need that little bit of money to get me through the surgery process of healing and getting back into the cage. So they fight, they have the surgery, and then they use that money to get them through to their next fight. It's not a way to live.
There's also no deductible when you do supposedly in the fight.
Yes, exactly. It's a flat fee of a $1,500 deductible. Normally, I don't know if it's changed since I was around. But it's normally a $1,500, but that's for every surgery. So if you have 2 surgeries in 1 year, that's $3,000, $1,500 each major surgery, which is actually, to be honest, a fantastic deal.
Yeah, it's up to $50,000 worth of.
It's a fantastic deal. So, I hope he's not involved.
No other promotion has any kind of health insurance.
No. Not that I know of. Not that I've ever heard of. But
now hold it. I'll make this clear to everyone. If you fight for the organization and you get injured, those organizations will pay for your medical. But
they have no choice. They can't be
it.
sanctioned, right, without
That's
it.
right. Yeah.
So the promotions can't be sanctioned without it. They need to, I believe, put up a bond for a certain amount of money.
Yes.
Yep. So they put up a bond for a certain amount of money to cover each one of those athletes for up to their $50,000 or whatever it is for their insurance. I hope he's not involved, because if he is, John, tell us about the repercussions he'll be facing. He will not be licensed in any state.
Oh, no.
He will never probably fight again. And he will probably get sued by I don't know how many damn people. The UFC will for sure sue him. He will lose fucking everything. It's so funny because I've had some friends back in the day, and they wanted me to bet against myself to lose. And I was like, bro, this is not even. They're like, yeah, you're the underdog. And it was the first fight with Gil because I was a 4-1 underdog. Like, just go down. I was like, yeah. And they wanted to put hundreds of $1,000s on me to lose. I was like, no, nuh-uh. And then when the fight was over, they're like, God, thank God, because you won. I was like, yeah, no. I felt like I was gonna win that fight. So fighters don't majority, and I don't know. I've never met a fighter that didn't think that they were gonna win. I've never met a fighter that didn't think they were gonna win. Never had anyone in my room in terms of an AKA. Yeah. I have never met any of our fighters that have ever fought in the biggest promotions that didn't think they were gonna win. Fuck no. We don't breed fucking losers around here. We're out here to win. And that was fucking something we did. We just tried our fucking hardest. We never, in our minds, ever thought we were going to lose. Studs. Anyway.
You try to always, look, money's not everything. And I know, it's like, if you do something like that, I mean, you're basically saying, well, it's worth this. I'm worth this. You never want to do that. There's worse things in this world than, I don't know. Don't ever get into a situation where you are trying to alter things, horrible for a fighter to do. I hope Derek Minner did not do this.
John, I was saying earlier about the Chandler situation, how he wants to be exciting, and and later on, like, I remember it being an exciting fight. And my second fight with Gil, exciting fight, but I kicked myself in the ass. Now I'm going, if you would have fought a little bit smarter, you would have won that fight. That's me giving my all and still being mad at myself. Yeah. Can you imagine how you will feel after you fucking throw a fight?
All I can say is, it ain't worth it. I don't care how much money it is.
No, it's not.
It ain't worth it. Don't even think about it.
But speaking of money, there was a winner in the fucking lottery for $2.04 billion. Holy
And it was not you or I.
It was not. Damn it. But it
do you play?
Yes, I do. I do. I'm a total loser when it comes to that shit. I don't gamble like normally and stuff like that. I mean, I'll place a couple bets here and there on some football games or some baseball games, whatever it is, and but no, I don't go deep into that type of stuff. But I do play the lottery. I like to play though when it's not as much money. I don't know why. I feel like there's less people playing, which means I have more chance of a win. And look, I'm sorry, but $3 million is still a lot better than the kick in the teeth.
Just so you know, you still don't have a chance of winning.
Yeah, it is what it is. Hey, you know how much of you have less of a chance of winning if you don't play. That's
right.
The biggest thing.
This is true.
Go to weighinginpodcast.com. Pick up some of our merch, hoodies. It's getting cold outside. It was raining all day yesterday. It's cats and dogs today. L.A. was like a flood. I was driving around L.A. yesterday. There's a flood everywhere. Their streets suck, man. That city was like just rats, just fucking running down the lanes. Anyways, hey, look, we are doing a special breakdown of Dustin and who? And Dustin and Justin.
Dustin and Justin
on our Clips channel. So Podcast Dave is going to put the link down below to our Clips channel, and we will see you guys on the other side over there. John and I are going to rewatch that fight, talk you guys through it, talk about the action, also talk about what I think each fighter is going through at that time, and just break it all down. And also use a little bit of this information we give you for this on how Dustin will potentially approach Michael Chandler if you're still on the fence about how to bet that fight at mybookie.ag. So guys, hit that link down below, get you to the Clips channel. Okay, and that fight will post on Thursday of our breakdown, and that's only available on our Clips channel. That's the only place you will see it. John, take us away, bud.
This is true. I hope everyone has a very good week leading up to one of the best pay-per-views there is coming out with 281. It's going to be fantastic. Go out there, enjoy the rest of your week. Do something kind for someone just because you can. If you haven't voted, you still have a little bit of time. Get out there and vote. Oh, no, you don't. This is the day after. Sorry. Well, you screwed up. So go out and do something good for someone, and we will see you.